My name is Kristopher Hatcher, and I'm the financial aid director here. I'm originally from all over. My dad was in the military. He is retired Air Force. So we've been stationed many places. We were in North Carolina for 7 years, and we lived in Okinawa, Japan for almost 5 years while I was in middle school. And he ended up last being placed here at Tyndall. That's where he retired, so I went to Rutherford all 4 years. As far as college goes, I did dual enrollment classes here at Gulf Coast while I was at Rutherford. And then for my undergraduate degree, I went to Florida State in Tallahassee. And then I moved to Jacksonville and got a master's degree from a small school called Kaiser University. And currently I'm a third-year doctoral student again at Florida State. So my favorite hobbies are playing poker and playing hockey. Poker is somewhat difficult here in Panama City. Got to drive a little far to get there. But the Navy base actually has an outdoor hockey rink. So really until the pandemic happened, we've been able to, there's a group of us here in town that are able to play hockey. We have special passes to get on the Navy base, so that's probably the hobby that I've been able to do most since moving here. If I wasn't doing financial aid, then I would almost certainly be working still in the restaurant industry. I worked at the Applebee's in Callaway when I helped open the Applebee's in Callaway when I was 16. And I worked in the restaurant business from then until I was 24. So I'd already graduated Florida State, worked through restaurants during Tallahassee, and enjoyed it. It's fun work. Just wasn't really what I had gone to school for, and so, but had I not landed unexpectedly in financial aid, I would probably be managing, or even better yet, owning a restaurant at this point. So getting into financial aid is actually tied into some of my prior answers. So in Jacksonville, while working at a restaurant, I won a poker tournament. And this was back when poker was big. There was a bit of a poker boom going on back then. And so my friends and I played a lot, and I won $1,500 in the tournament. And that was enough at the time, being a 24-year-old, that I could quit my job in the restaurant and look full-time for an office position where I wasn't in front of a grill all day. And so there was a financial aid position that I applied for, and I was lucky enough to be hired for without any experience, without knowing really what it was all about. And I've been in financial aid ever since. The greatest part about financial aid is that it's a mix of different areas. So some days it's customer service, going back to the restaurant, talking to students, talking to parents, being able to do that, calm down tense situations. Other days it's economics, supply and demand. Often it's politics, what federal and state governments are doing and how that impacts the amount of money I can give to students. At other times, it's fiscal, it's finance, it's balancing and reconciling accounts. So it's not solely one thing, it's a little bit of everything. I think there's a phrase of jack of all trades, master of none. That's certainly a financial aid phrase. I was brought to Gulf Coast by the financial aid director position opening up. I was working in the financial aid office at University of North Florida in Jacksonville as an assistant director, and I saw that this position was accepting applications. I went to high school here. It seemed like it would be a good fit. My boss now, Chris Westlake, was the financial aid director for a number of years, and he got promoted. He's the executive director of Student Financial Services, which is both financial aid and the business office. So with his ascension, he was tasked with hiring his replacement. And so I drove over on think it was my spring break that year. Interviewed up in the conference room next to Dr. Holnack's office and was lucky enough to be selected. Unquestionably, the most challenging part of the job has been the storm and the pandemic, without a doubt. I thoroughly enjoy financial aid, and its challenges are not, I don't really consider those challenges, but everything that resulted from the storm and the pandemic was certainly difficult. However, the team that I have here in the financial aid office is without a doubt the best financial aid team that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And I know that sounds like I'm just saying that, but there are a lot of people that work here at Gulf Coast that haven't worked at other schools. So their viewpoint is they only know things from how Gulf Coast does them, or they only have that perspective. Well, I have worked at different schools and I've worked at different kinds of schools. And so I can honestly say that this team here and what they've had to go through, along with everyone else, but what they've had to go through and how they've gone through it is remarkable. And so it's really because of them that those challenges have been able to be overcome and that we're able to still be operating today. The best part about being a staff member is, and how do I say this? So being able to speak your mind. So going back to what I was saying about having the perspective of working at other institutions, if you're someone like me who doesn't have a problem speaking their mind, that being received is quite important. And so at other institutions, I've said what needed to be said, and it has either not been well received or gotten me in trouble, even though what I was saying was arguably true or more accurate than what someone else thought was the case. Here, with staff, we will have good debates, never arguments. But there's a discourse here, a positive discourse, that we can talk about things and we can have different perspectives, and I can take what someone else thinks in stride and they can take what I think in stride. And at the end of the day, we're normally able to find a middle point that is best for the students. Whereas at other institutions, other factors tend to dominate, and sometimes students lose out at other schools. So here, being able to discuss things and feeling like you can speak your mind is probably the best part of working at Gulf Coast. It seems simple and possibly rhetorical, but there's never such thing as a bad question. Financial aid is very confusing, overly confusing. And at some point, a student seeking financial aid will need help or have a question, but they will feel shy or intimidated or scared to ask the question because we're dealing with sensitive information like finances. But most of the time, if a student asks a question, we can arrive at a solution or help them find a path, a financial path that leads them to graduation. When students don't ask questions, things snowball into problems, and then problems turn into issues that we can't resolve because sometimes there are deadlines and time frames that we must adhere to. So the best piece of advice would be to ask any and all questions that you have so that we can try and help wherever we can.